Once you drive a Prevost, you'll never go back.
That's quite the creation. The team at Liberty Coach has come up. What's the newest here?
Well, we've had, actually, it's been a while since we've done a video, and it hasn't been because of production. We've had this unit in here for a little bit because delivery on it to the end user was going to be delayed, so we've been doing some good checkout with it. We also had to do the wheels, which was a last minute changeover for the client, so that put us in the situation where we are now. It's a brand new 2024. It's on a 9660 Prevost chassis. It's a triple slide with the supers in the rear. This is not a bath and a half, so this will showcase, you know, what that bedroom looks like, having the additional storage in the back. It's got the extended galley single chair. It's got some really great colors on the inside. It's from a past client. I think this is either their third or fourth unit that we've done for them. We're pretty excited for them to see it.
And this is the fourth 9660 shell that you have converted. And in the video we filmed on 903, I know you read a lot of the comments and even respond to a lot of those questions in those comments, but there was two comments that I wanted to address that came in that are a little different than the other. Frank D'Amelio commented, his 2013 is as new, the paint, the fit finish, no squeaks, no rattles, followed by Liberty's incredible support. Some may say my 2013 is approaching vintage. I say it's timeless and continues to be relevant. A true testament to the people who make up the brand Liberty Coach. Huge compliment to you and the team at Liberty, a Liberty Coach owner taking the time to comment.
Super nice guy.
Yes, sir. And then another comment that came in, it says, Mr. Frank, I used to work for you, and he mentioned Bill D. Thank you for allowing me to work at Liberty Coach North Chicago. Best job I ever had. A lot of amazing people with incredible skill. God bless you and your family and your employees.
I love reading the comments. I really do. And people know, you know, that have put them out there, I'll answer. And you know, there's some comments in there that you read through that are actually, some of them are hysterical, but I like to keep up with it, but there's so many of them, it's hard to keep up with all of them, but I enjoy going through it, I really do.
So if you do leave a comment, there's a good chance Frank will read that and possibly respond. But do you think we could take a closer look at 904?
Absolutely, let's do it.
Now, this being the third triple slide on the 9660, is there anything different about this than we've seen in the other new body style?
I think the only thing that we've really done differently on this one in the bay, you'll see in the entertainment center area, is they want to do a drink cooler in there, so that was a reconfiguration of that particular cabinet. But on the inside of it, there's just a few tweaks on the interior part. You know, the exterior of the coach, this is one of Dean's artistry series.
And what is it about the artist series compared to a normal Liberty Coach?
Well, it kind of depends on what Dean puts together for the client on that. One of the knowing features of an artistry series is going to be the paint in the upper front glass. That will right away tell you that it's an artistry series. So there's other ghosting, there's other items that'll be features in the paint that really you can't see until it's out in, you know, the daylight as far as that goes, but that's going to be the trademark aspect.
Yes, sir, and I'm really excited to show off the interior of this coach inside, but do you think we could take a quick look through the bays?
Absolutely.
Of course, one of the huge advantages of the triple slide is the easy access to the bays up here.
You can almost walk into them.
Yes, sir.
Exactly.
Tallest bays in the industry. But what's going on up front here?
Front bay is going to be totally accessible as far as cross throughput. And then we have our rollout trays that we manufacture in-house, so they've got the lowest profile in the industry, being able to give you the most amount of storage in height. We have here the trademark tool drawer that we do, and then we've got drawer storage up in here for different items, spare parts, different things that you might want to carry. Outlet in this bay as well. Second bay, again, all the way through from side to side as far as storage above. We have the audio video processor above that. We also have manual controls for the awnings. I always like to have manual controls for those because, you know, if you've got a Wi-Fi hiccup or if you've got an RF hiccup or something like that, you want to get the awnings in, you have always the ability to do it manually down in the bay. We then have the 65-inch TV. The mechanism, as we pointed out in the past, is all made by Liberty Coach. Very stout as far as mechanical capabilities. It swivels all the way around. It has locks for different positions for when you're in a windy condition. Sound bar underneath is done by KEF, so that is engineered specifically for the atmosphere outside of the coach.
And I like to point out just how effortless you're able to put that TV in and out. And I don't know if you want to share with the folks on YouTube, but you just said you're battling a back injury and you're able to very easily get in and out of these bays, even with a sore back right now. So
the golf swing is off, but that works.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And we got in the drink cooler area here. So this was a request by the client to do was a drink cooler. This is one of the first times we've done one as far as this size. I like it. I think it's great. I mean, you can do wine, you can do beer, you can do whatever in there, I think, and plus glass enclosure, I think that works out pretty sweet.
And this latching mechanism to keep that door in place,
that's ours.
Very simple, but I haven't seen that before. Really like that
we made
style.
That.
Yes, sir.
We made that. It's very easy, very astute. We've got storage above as well, trying to utilize every inch of storage that we can. The grill unit then was placed next to it. People have seen enough of our units, they'll know that that grill unit typically stays over on this side, and we've got the smaller refrigerator here. Then we have the storage below, drawers on each one. Fourth bay here now, instead of having the drawer storage, they wanted to have a specific toolbox. But as we know on a Liberty coach, you don't really need the tools. Who needs tools?
Yes, sir.
There's nothing to fix. So toolbox here and then storage above. We get into this area between the two bays. This is going to be the condenser for the driver's air conditioning unit. For those that know, we have the electric fans for cooling the main engine. When the electric fan system was done on driver's air coaches, they needed to still have a separate unit for the condenser on the driver's AC system. So that was placed here with its own electric fan to be able to make sure that that system worked properly, so it was not overloading the cooling system of the main engine. Here we have the passenger side fuel fill, which has got a locking door on it. Nice height for it, so you can go in, run at full speed, don't have to worry about getting up underneath anywhere. You'll see the same thing on the other side. Plus, on that side we have the DEF.
And what's the fuel tank capacity?
202 gallons, I believe, right now.
Yes, sir.
So, and then the DEF tank is located behind here, which is 16 liters, and again, that is filled from the other side.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Fifth bay here, passenger side, is going to be what you might call our wet bay. Freshwater tank, which is stainless steel, and which we manufacture, and then the holding tank is aluminum. Capacities on both of those are right around 170 gallons. We have a 40-gallon water heater, which is stainless steel. The water heater is electric. It's heated from the main engine. It's also heated from the S-bar system. Some people have commented on the different videos of why we use a standalone water heater. This is an additional 40 gallons of water capacity, which on those other units that are Aqua Hot and the other type of heating systems that are out there, you don't have that capacity. The other thing is that when you're heating your domestic hot water from those systems, they have to be running through there at a certain speed. So when you go to turn a faucet on, you're definitely not going to have the volume of water coming at you as you will on our system. This is going to be like you would have in your home. So that's why we do a separate unit. So that's a 40-gallon water heater. It's electric, plus it's got the main engine to heat it, or it's got the S-bar system to heat it.
And how long has Liberty Coach been using this system?
Since inception. We've never done it any differently. We've always had a separate water heater in the system.
Now, I'm sure at some point when the Aqua Hots got more popular in the industry, you probably tested those in comparison and always stuck with this.
You know, for us, it was a real estate issue because you only have so much space in the coach. This was easier and better to have a separate system. Plus, we felt to be more efficient at the end of the day. You would always have the ability, even if the heating element went down, you could heat it from the way we plumb the S-bar system and the way we pump it, because we use a larger volume pump, so we can run that antifreeze through the system and heat that. Should that fail, then we have a separate tankless water heater which goes specifically to the shower valve. So it has no other purpose in life but the shower valve. That is used as a backup, so that you wouldn't have that on all the time.
And I know the hydronic heating systems and other RVs require a lot of maintenance and annual maintenance. What type of service and maintenance does this system require?
Basically none. I mean, seriously, unless the element goes bad inside of it, which can happen if it was run all the way down, although this unit has protection So if it doesn't have water in there, it'll trip itself out, and then there's a button on the face of the unit that you can hit to reset it. So as far as maintenance with it, especially being stainless steel with the glass vessel, I mean, it's almost timeless really when you get down to it.
Yeah, I think those AquaHot services are like $500 or $600 a year,
Yeah.
so that
Yeah.
adds up a lot, and the time to take it in, so a lot of value in that.
For sure. Out here on the Culligan system, this is a reverse osmosis system. So this system is plumbed to the coffee maker and to the refrigerator. So your water that is tapped out from the refrigerator and the ice maker is running through the reverse osmosis. We also have the option if people want to do a separate tap or spigot at the sink area for that. So the system prior to that and ahead of it is filtered as well. And then we have the Headhunter water pump here. We have the ability to fill fresh water or put the system under pressure from city water on both sides of the coach. We also have air dump valves, so you can dump the holding tank from the passenger side or the driver's side. And then we also have a dump valve for the freshwater tank, so you can dump that. We really recommend that you dump that fresh water tank every month or so, especially even if you're using it, because there's always going to be a section of water at the bottom of that tank that's really not going to be used. So it's always a good idea to dump that occasionally.
And how many gallons is the freshwater and holding tanks?
Right around 170.
Oh, it's got to be the leader in the industry. So 170 fresh and then 170 waste as well? Wow.
Yeah. Prevost's service compartment is here. So you've got their electrical components as well as the main engine or chassis starting batteries are in this location. In here we've got a storage area that we build in. So you've got a nice stainless steel storage compartment here which is vented. So in case you put something in here that might be wet, it'll dry out. We have a 220 30 amp receptacle here. This is where people can plug in their stacker trailers or trailers that they have them, so if they want to power up the outlets or air conditioning or what have you from that. So this can run off of shore power or your generator. And we've got a starboard side shore inlet. So we use that quite a bit because the cord reel, we kind of don't like to use that in our shop because we want to get the cord all dirty. So we'll have the ability to run here. So some customers will ask for a separate cord that would plug into that in an emergency if the cord reel were to fail. Engine compartment, stainless steel belt guard. You've seen coaches that we've had this on and had it off. It just depends on customer request. The belts that are back in here, we've talked about how Prevost is built on serviceability. So there's no other chassis manufacturer out there that is concerned more about the serviceability of the product than Prevost. The air belt tightening system that's on this coach has the ability to keep the belts tight on this side of the engine. So there's a whole cradle mechanism here that has got an air bellows that keeps the belts here at a certain tension, which these then would be the two 10 kW Volta alternators for the house system. So you got 20 kW of alternator here, and then you also have the compressor for the driver's air conditioning system that's over on this side. The alternators for the chassis batteries are over located on either side of the engine. They're done on a spring tensioning pulley system. So you don't ever have to worry about how the belts are running back here because they're always going to be at the correct tension all the time. It's a good idea to come back and look at them, make sure they're still here. You know, you do have some that break, but as far as the, you know, making sure the tensioning's correct and what have you, that's pretty well taken care of by itself. On this side, we've got the radiator. You no longer have the direct drive big fan mechanism back here. That went away in 2020. So now we're in our 4th model year of that. Probably one of the most successful transitions of a system that we've seen. Those fans, you just don't hear about anything on an overheat part of it. I don't even remember if we've had a fan system that's ever gone down. There's 8 fans that are running at different speeds and different directions as well, depending on the temperature outside and depending on, you know, if they need to clean themselves. That's why they have different directions. This is going to be for the SCR system, which is for the exhaust going to the roof of the coach. We've talked about the new 9660 was a significant challenge for us in that it was about a 2-year project for my brother. You can see how the back of the coach has got what would look like somewhat of a spoiler to the back. And then the rear cap was completely designed differently by my brother so that it would enhance the fuel savings that Prevost was trying to achieve. Plus, it keeps the dirt and everything from sucking up on the whole back of the coach. So that was a big engineering feat for him. The profile had to be done virtually the same as what the Prevost shell was. The exhaust stack to the roof of the coach on, I think, 902, I think if we revert back to that, you had gone up on the roof to see how that stack cap chimney system was done, because as opposed to just leaving what Prevost does and build something around it, we made our own chimney inside of that. So when it's all finished on top, it looks like original.
Yes, sir, and just a really good looking style. And then I'm looking at this kind of component right here. Is this something from Prevost, or is that done by Liberty Coach?
No, that's Prevost. That has to do with the venting of the exhaust stack.
Okay, well, really cool how you brought the paint scheme into that venting system there. Really sleek design.
You should have seen how much time it took me to do that.
I bet. And then talking about the paint, I think we're seeing some of the Artist series. This is a new pattern in this stripe that you can only see very close up, but there's so many little details in this paint scheme.
Yeah, Dean does an amazing job. There's no question about that.
Yes, sir.
Coming over on this side, we always kind of like to point out how the slide rooms are, how finished they are underneath, how high you can walk under it. You're not going to crack your head open on it. And the fact of how the Prevost slides, how they're finished underneath and on the side. So there's no sharp edges to the system at all, as opposed to what you see out there in the Class A market or other coaches that are out there. The fifth bay on the driver's side, again, this is across the bay from the wet side on the passenger side. So this has been our signature look for 30 some odd years, with the polished stainless steel tank, the polished cover on the aluminum tank, the polished copper, which is coated. And you've taken enough videos on coaches that are 20 plus years old, and it looks the same.
Yeah, I'm always amazed, not only just all the plumbing and the copper, but when we start to look at the carpet and the carbon fibers and the drawers and just how all of the fit and finish hold up. And you've got Liberties on your lot that are probably 10 years old plus out here that people can come and look at and touch and feel them. Just incredible at how well they hold up.
The holding tank is single tank, so we do the black and gray water in one tank, and we've built it that way since our inception. And that is because of the fact that the holding tank is going to stay cleaner and the odors are going to stay down when you have the gray water mixed into it. That is one of the major reasons why we do that, plus it saves space. Now, if you have the opportunity or the ability to bypass the gray water either onto the ground because you're in a grassy area and it's allowed to do so, or through a storm sewer drain, then that's why we have the bypass system. And then you can come out through a garden hose fitting underneath the coach. So if you have the ability to do that, now you've changed the whole gamut here. Instead of having 170-ish gallons of holding capacity for both, now you've got that for just black. Now your ability to stay dry camped, as long as you can keep fresh water, is significantly higher.
Yeah, it's a huge black tank, yes sir.
So the next thing we have to this is the 100-foot city water hose reel. It's electric on its retract, it's manual to pull out. So we hook that up. We always require the customers to use the water pump in the coach, because the toilets require that pump to be able to create enough volume of water for the toilet system to work properly. So even though we have the hose hooked up, that's mainly to keep the tank filled. So we have an automatic tank fill system on the coach that keeps the tank between 20% and 80% all the time. And then we have a washout system here. So this is a retractable hand sprayer to be able to clean out the sewer hoses that are located here. And again, you have the dump that's on the passenger side is flush to the bottom of the coach, so you don't drag that off, so you have the ability to dump on either side of the coach. We also have a tank washout system. There's a button press here that'll wash out the holding tank. So that's been a cool feature that's been within the last year that we've done. Some questions come up with these fittings that are here. They're there in case you need to fill the fresh water tank and the electric valve has failed. You can put the hose right in here to fill the fresh water tank. This is the ability to wash out the holding tank if you want to do so that way. So there's a lot of different options. Fourth bay on the driver's side here was an option as far as the configuration. There's a closet done right here for probably the winter clothes, and then storage bins over on this side. So that we've seen this bay configured a number of different ways. It's all dependent on what the client would like to do. Generator, same position, third bay on the driver's side. The ladder, every Liberty coach since forever has had a collapsible very strong, sturdy ladders, so if you needed to get on the roof of the coach, you can. So that's been standard equipment on our coach. And then the generator is 12.5 kW Onan unit. It's in its own soundproof box, and then we build our own soundproof box around that as well. So it's a very quiet and vibration-free installation.
Best looking generator door in the industry. How long has Liberty Coach been finishing out that generator door with a logo like that?
I'm going to say it's been 30 plus years.
Yeah, a lot of timeless design, but I'm sure it's probably evolved over the years as well.
It has. So second bay on the driver's side is kind of the brains of the electrical architecture of the coach. On the ceiling here, we have the battery management system for the Volta. 58 volt lithium ion system has two rather large battery packs. They're located in the center of the coach on the third bay. This is for balance of the weight of the system, which is actually very light for the capacity of it. There's 36,000 kilowatt of power there. So we can run 2 air conditioners and running the normal stuff you would run in a coach for 8 hours, depending on the temperature outside before the generator kicks on. If you're running 1 AC unit, like we typically do, you know, just to sleep at night, that's going to be about 15 hours that you can run. Now with those 20 kW alternators on the back of the coach, the 210s, you can charge that system up driving down the road in under 2 hours.
Wow.
And that's from a 20% state of charge to 100% state of charge, okay? It's a lot of alternator going into it, a lot of power. On the generator or shore power, you're probably going to look at about 7 to 8 hours, because we're looking at how we can charge those batteries back and not utilize all of that from shore power to do that. So, you know, it's a balancing act. We have 3 5,000 watt inverters, which I don't know anybody that's got that many. So there's 3 5,000 watt inverters on the coach. 2 of those inverters can be piggybacked so that they can actually, or stacked, so that they can run 220 equipment. So we can run the Mealy oven, we can run the washer dryer, the 220 equipment in the coach can run off of that system, which is pretty sweet. The other inverter that's there is specifically for the operation of all the sensitive electronics in the coach. Satellite receivers, Apple TVs, refrigerator, that type of stuff that doesn't like to see power transitions. So that stays live on that system all the time. So again, this is the battery management system here. This little green push button there allows you to be able to shut the system totally down. So we've talked about this in the past. This is rather unique to our system. Nobody else has this. So if you need to store the coach and you don't have the ability to plug it in, ideally you're going to need to take the stuff out of the refrigerator, but you can come down here, shut that off with one button press. If it's at 100% state of charge, when you turn it off, in 3 to 4 months, it's going to be about 80% of charge. So that's really cool, and it'll stay that way. They say 6 months. I say probably 3 to 4 months. But once you turn that system back on, everything comes back live as a fresh reboot. So it's not trying to come up from a low state and then bounce down and bounce up and bounce down and bounce up, and all the equipment is going on and off and on and off and on and off. This comes up on, you know, real sweet. Other aspects that we have here is our distribution for our DC systems. So you've got different breakers for that. There is only 6 fuses in our system. The rest of the system is controlled on what's called the Maritz Octoplex. The Maritz Octoplex system is controlled by a flat panel, which is in the center of the coach. It tells you what the status of all your breakers are on the coach. And then if one of those happens to trip, it's going to come up red on the screen. You can just touch it to reset it. If it doesn't reset, then we know that we got a problem with that particular load or somewhere down the line. It's a lot easier to troubleshoot than having to get wire circuit sheets out, try and find fuses that are in cabinets, get on your knees or whatever and crawl into some place looking for fuses. I'm sure you've experienced that.
Yes, sir, and Liberty Coach has been using that system for quite some time now.
2007.
Wow, so 16, 17 years
Bulletproof.
now. Yes, sir.
Bulletproof. So first bay, driver's side, very open, a lot of height for storage in here. Rather good or unique on the Prevost system. Right here is going to be the slide controls, so you can drop this down. The controllers for the slide rooms are there, as far as the manifold system for the air on the slide seals. So if you do have a slide seal that goes down, we can go ahead and take one of those out of the loop so that you can have the other slide seals inflated while the other one is waiting to get repaired. One thing that's nice on the Prevost slides is that there are wipers that are on either side of that bellows of the slide seal. So if the seal does go down, more than likely it's not going to leak into the coach because of those wipers. So it's pretty cool on that part.
Yes, sir.
Chairs, outside chairs, we've got those on each one of the first 2 bay doors on either side of the coach, so you have 4 of those.
Now, on one of the first 9660 shells, I noticed that the Liberty Coach wheels had the floating center caps. Yeah. When we were filming this, I noticed the logo spinning around. Is this a little different?
Because on the black American Racing, we don't have the black hub cover to make that work right, so it doesn't work, so that's why that's on there.
So there's a few different wheel options as well.
For sure, exactly. So we get into the front of the coach, which is the major changes that happen other than the dash, is the whole 9660 profile. So on the traditional Classic, we had the door that was here that opened up. Now we've got a really nice big service door here to be able to get the electronics, and to the lower section of the coach here in the front for the service. This worked out really cool. The windows obviously here has changed, as well as the window here, the profile has changed on the trapezoidal window as well.
Yes, sir, and this door we've talked about a little bit in past videos. It's much more curved than the older body style. There's some more aerodynamics.
A lot more. What ended up happening here with the whole profile change on the 9660, you might recall on the Classics you would have the headlight washers here, okay? Those have gone away because they did a lot of study in aerodynamics of how to clear the front end of the coach without having to worry about the washer part of it. So the front end of the coach essentially clears itself. Slush, snow, rain, it clears itself. It's really, really well done. Now, this whole profile had to be followed up with the front cap that we add. So when Kurt designed, my brother designed this cap system, there's some changes, design work that he did into it as well, but it all had to be the same profile to enhance the aerodynamics of the coach and the fuel savings that this has accomplished. So there was quite a bit of changes that had to be done there. The windshields on the coach, you'll notice, are much taller than what we had previously. One of the comments that comes up on almost every video is, why is this not a single windshield instead of a split windshield? A solid windshield of this size would be enormous to have to handle. More than likely, half of them would break by the time they got to wherever they needed to get to. We have enough trouble getting these in without being broken just from the service centers. So it's a big challenge there. The other challenge you have is, again, the size. You have weight. So the weight that would be on this gasket over time, we typically see those units that have the single windshields leak at the top. We don't have leaks. Windshield leaks are not a part of a Prevost chassis, have not been a part of a Prevost chassis for many, many, many years. That is a lot of the thought process there. You're going to have some loss of vision because of that, but also when you look at the interior of the coach, this center post allows us to have the ability to have a nice shade that can stay close to the windshield and be able to keep that shade in place. If you didn't have that, you'd have a shade that would be a foot, into the interior of the coach to be able to block this off.
Yes, sir, and the height of these two, it's a much taller windshield, so a much taller view than other Class A's.
Well, two things to go with that. Number one is the people or passengers in the back have a much better view out the windshield because we'll see on the inside, because of this, have also changed the front end interior section, so you've got a lot more view here, but the driver and the passenger also have a lot more view. I've driven other coaches, I've driven the Newell, I've driven the Class A's, and the biggest thing that I notice out of that is I can tell how close I am to the vehicle in front of me. Okay, really well, really easy. On those other ones, the dash is so high and the windshield's so high, it's difficult to judge that distance, right? Once you drive a Prevost and you're situated in the driver's seat and you can feel how you can really sense the road and the traffic, you'll never go back.
Yeah, and talking about driving a Prevost, I know you're going to be at the Prevost show coming up, I believe in January or February.
February, the expo in West Palm.
Where all of the different Prevost converters are lined up, and Liberty Coach is definitely the star of the show every year, but I've seen in the past, they do have Prevost buses set up for folks that have never driven a Prevost to have that opportunity to drive a Prevost. So if you're in West Palm Beach, Florida, definitely worth visiting Frank and seeing some of these Liberty Coaches in person and possibly driving a Prevost if they do that.
I would definitely recommend going there for sure. So the other part of the front that changed is what they call the frunk. This actually folds down. We can pop that open, it'll come down. The windshield wiper motors are now synchronous, so we don't have one motor with a tie rod here that's running the wipers. We have synchronous motors here, so we have a much smoother operation of the wipers. We have more options as far as their speeds and more intermittent settings as well. The other thing that we have is the ability to change or clean the filter for the dash AC system or heat system, where before it was done in the stairwell. So now that's given us a lot more option and flexibility of the staircase system than we had before with this system. The other thing is now we've changed the Liberty Coach placard on the front. It is now a backlighted placard, which is really nice, stands out really well. The front bumper has changed. It's still a single drop-down bumper, but it's done in 3 sections. So if you do damage a section, you only have to replace that section as opposed to the whole front bumper cover.
Yeah, and then these lights here.
Oh, these lights are the coolest.
Great looking headlight.
Yeah, nice feature design as well when they're on. And then the LED system is really enhanced.
Yeah, now this coach has mirrors. The first two 9660s did not have the electronic mirrors.
So this was all done on the early stages with it. And the other ones actually were add-ons, and this is, you know, how the coaches are coming. So even though we have the coaches coming that'll have the e-mirrors on there, they're always going to have these mirrors also. So customers can then choose to remove these. There's a cover that goes on there, and then they can just use the e-mirrors.
I'm real excited to show the folks inside. Do you think we can take a peek?
Absolutely.
So if there was an inspiration for this, I'd say it was probably heaven, or do you know what inspired this interior?
This all came together actually off-site. Primarily, a lot of it came together in Stewart because the client was in Fort Lauderdale, and Kim was actually here for the open house in January of this year. She had come together with a thought process from what they have done in the past, their ideas, and put it all together pretty much here. And then some of the other stuff was done, you know, over time remotely. So it came together really well. No question about it.
Yeah, it's incredible, all of the different styles that Kim comes up with. And even though this is so light and so bright, it does not feel sterile at all. No. It still has a very elegant, warm feel. But what's going on in this coach?
Well, this goes into what we had seen in a couple units where we have the extended galley. So this is what we call the Ravello layout. So this is a non-bath and a half. So it's got the mid toilet room, the aft shower, and the aft vanity. So you get a little bit more room in here because of that. So this extended galley gives you even more galley top here. There's no coffee maker in this one at all, so you have even more space. And then we have the single chair here, which this new chair that we've got is electric. So the recline, the footrest, all of that is done electrically. And then we've got the cabinet here in the living room, which serves as a desk area if you wanted to also. Couch design is kind of cool with the kidney shape to it. I think that's kind of neat. That goes back to something that we did many years ago. It's great to see that come back on some units. This has got the bar top arrangement without the TV or the cabinet, so then you end up with more window. We're seeing a lot of people go away from that TV cabinet as well when they're doing the new build, so you get more countertop area.
Now I do see a spot there if someone did want to put a monitor up there. It looks like you can run the cords through there.
So we have the grommet in there for that purpose. You have a lot of storage underneath here. These stools, we make these in-house, so it's really cool on how we did the rivet. You know, you always point that out, the detail.
Yeah, it's incredible. I'm a detail guy, and I've been in a lot of these, you know, like multi-million-dollar cars, and so, you know, it's the little tiny stuff. But when you look at, you know, just every, you know, close up at how these studs and how everything is upholstered, just top notch. And talking about upholstery, up in the cockpit area up there, I see different motorhome companies do different stitches that kind of copy the automotive industry. And the seats in this coach, the stitching, the diamond stitching is on it. Yeah, it's on another level. It looks totally different than the other diamond stitching out there. What is it about these seats?
Well, it's our design. It's what Kim has put together to challenge them to say, okay, these are how we want our seats to look like. So that diamond pattern that's there then also has the venting done in it for the cooling of the seats, the stitching, all of that to contrast as far as how one goes together, it's a challenge, there's no question.
Yeah, and even the spacing between where the seats are perforated and the stitching, it's all precision, just very impressive.
Thank you. So going along those lines with the multi-million-dollar cars, obviously we're not charging enough money.
Yes, sir. That's what people say. I mean, at 2.9 million, what is the price of, talking about money, what is the price of this coach?
On this coach here, you're probably looking in the 2.7 million range.
You know, I have to tip my hat to Liberty Coach, because the first time we filmed a video in 2020, I remember that coach was a triple slide at 2.65 million. And I've seen some of the production coaches that had a $1 million MSRP in 2020 now have a $1.7 million MSRP. So they've gone up 70%, where Liberty Coach has only gone up, you know,
We've tried to maintain, even though we've had some significant supply chain situations where those prices have gone up significantly. The shell has gone up. We don't have any control on that part of it. We have to buy the box. You know, Prevost builds an incredible machine. There's no question about that part of it. So I really don't complain at all to them about, you know, what they charge for that. You know, they're always right there for us. If the customer needs something or if we need something, I mean, they're always right there. So it's really kind of hard to really buck them on what they do. So they do such a great job. So, you know, we've tried to maintain all that. So should our MSRP be a little bit higher? Maybe so. But I think that, you know, the customer appreciates the fact that we're trying to maintain as best we can.
Well, and this Dean Lauch's paint job I know is a couple $100,000, but one of my buddies just bought a Bugatti that has a carbon fiber exterior option that was $400,000 just for the exterior carbon option on a car, and this is a lot more square feet. So I mean, I really see the value in you know, what you build here. Just, it is a lot of bang for the buck. It's a lot of money, but when you look at it, I mean, there's a lot of value.
There's a lot of work in here. So, you know, we can see coaches that are over $3 million. I mean, we've been there. You know, you get into the quad slides, they're more expensive to build. We've got triples that are getting up there. So I mean, you know, it's all dependent on what's you know, in the coach and what's going on. The jewel, if you will, of this new 9660 has got to be all the time and effort that my brother Kurt put into the dash cockpit of the coach. It was more of a challenge to do than what he had done on the 2016 model year coaches that we actually used until, you know, the 9660 came out. There's a significant amount that had to be done here, so nothing was utilized from the 9660 as it comes to us other than the display. Steering wheel has been modified as well. The rest of the coach, the panels, these panels we have different options for. They can either be carbon fiber, they can be matte, they can be, there's a black wood finish for it as well, so we have some options there. The one thing that they did with Prevost is they gave us more venting as far as supply for the air conditioning and heat. Traditionally, we only had it down at this level and at your feet, so now we have it actually blowing at us. When you exit the coach, you'll see another vent for the passenger as well. Plus, it comes out of the passenger handrail area, so we've got a lot more air movement up in the front of the coach. This coach has the option for the center pillar monitor, so this display is for the backup camera. It can bring up some other features as well. The switching on the coach, we were able to condense some of the switching on the coach and even bring more into the iPad. We have a 10-inch Pioneer AM/FM radio unit here, which we have a clamshell device here that clamps your phone in place, either an Apple or an Android. You can then CarPlay or Apple CarPlay or however the Android is to the Pioneer display. So now whatever you've got here, you can stream over to this display for your music, for your navigation. We also have full hands-free, which this is really a challenge because the past hands-free systems, you sounded like you had your head in a toilet or something. It was horrible. But now these units are so directional that they really sound good, and even the passenger sounds good from there. We now have, instead of a key switch to be able to start the coach, we have a rocker switch here and then push button, and it is required by the fob unit that they now provide from Prevost. So there's a lot of enhancements that have happened here. We've gone to a valid leveling system for years and years. We used the Liberty Coach leveling system. I, in fact, was one of the designers of that back in the mid-80s for the automatic leveling. We've gone to this because Prevost utilized some of their control systems, so it's a nice plug-in feature for that. The leveling system on the 9660 has changed. The traditional classic Prevost from the X's to the H's had a single leveling valve for the front and then one on each side in the rear. You now have a driver and passenger side front leveling valve as well as the driver and passenger side rear leveling valve. So it gives you some more flexibility. We have the blind spot detection system, which Liberty Coach brought into the industry on our 2001 model year coaches, starting with Coach 865. I'm not familiar that any of the other manufacturers have that feature. The 9660 has the lane departure as well. It has the advanced adaptive cruise control system and collision alert. So we have a heads-up display that comes to the windshield on the collision alert. So the system is very, very safe. It's very comfortable for the driver and also for the passenger.
Now, you were mentioning the sound, and that was one of the questions that I saw in a previous comment. They were asking if they have a particular type of speaker brand that they wanted to put into a Liberty Coach. Is that something that you're able to do, like switch out electronics and audio?
You know, it was an interesting comment that came up because they had asked whether or not we would do a Bang & Olufsen system, and it touched me because the programmer that we had many years ago for Crestron worked for us, and we put him into the master programming school, and he was a really super guy, and he was part of the Bang & Olufsen family and then went back to Europe and is now still working for Bang & Olufsen. So when that comment came up, that was really touching. We use the KEF speaker system, and we did a partnership with them a number of years ago. They came to the Tampa Super Show. We looked at everything, and they're an English company. They're one of the oldest speaker manufacturers in the world, and Princess Yacht that is built over there, they came to them. They built a specific speaker and had to be at KEF's level for the sound delivery that it was going to make, and then they built that to fit into certain bulkheads, ceilings, and what have you. So we were able to kind of piggyback off of some of that. So the speakers that we have in here are specific for the areas by KEF. So we have the center channel, which is in the center windshield pillar. We have the front, left, and right speakers here. This now leads me into how our front end has changed, okay? But I'll stay in the speaker path. So the rear speakers are a specific depth for the ceiling, and then there's a specific subwoofer system that we use too, and then that all has to be done through the sound processor. So each coach that we build, we do a sound calibration. We just don't build the whole coach with the system in there and then send it out the door. So we do a full sound calibration in each room. That takes, a good, few hours to do that properly. So when the client gets in the coach, the system is balanced and ready to roll right from the get-go. Okay, so that's part of what we do. It takes time to do this, right? With that said, this all kind of changed because of how the front end changed. Before, on the classics, we had cabinets that came down to here on both sides, and now because the 9660 has got a flat roof all the way to the front, it doesn't have that step down any longer. The interior followed suit. So now the whole front end of the coach looks like it's 4 feet longer than previously. So Kurt was able to take this entire design feature and run it all the way around the front at the same level. That raised the television as well, and then we were able to get more radius run on the lift mechanism, so now it runs further. So now getting in and out of the coach, there's no obstacle with the TV down or the TV up. So all of this balanced into the whole audio video experience here in the front end of the coach.
Yeah, it's just incredible how flush all of that is, and not only looks great, but then I can see how deviating from the stereo system and not calibrating the sound, it probably wouldn't be as clear.
No, there's no question. Now, if somebody came in and they absolutely said, look, I have to have this, all right. So now you're looking at essentially hanging speakers in locations because of size. But, then again, we look at how does it hold up over time. Does the thing, if it's hanging on mounts or what have you, we don't want them to rattle. Again, squeaks and rattles are a big thing for me as far as that goes in my company. So You know, this all plays into it. You know, the front end, we've done some engineering changes in the front end. So we're building some coaches that are coming up that are going to have subwoofer modifications to the front. Now you're going to lose some cabinet space and some other additional mid-range tweeters that are in the front of the coach.
Yeah, so it sounds like you probably don't want to deviate from your process on the sound.
Not as much.
If someone demanded it, it could be done, but the quality of the end product may slide if you deter. Right. Yes, sir. Right. Yeah, now, when we were outside, you were talking a little bit about the dash air, and I know in the past, a lot of the Liberty coaches have had bus air or roof airs. What type of cooling and heating systems does this coach have?
So this coach has got the 4 15,000 BTU roof-mounted AC units, and those units we essentially almost re-engineer them when we get them so that we can keep the vibration and noise down from them, as well as the way that we mount them and the way that we do the ceiling insulation, because we'll change that in the areas of where those are mounted so that you have almost no noise out of the units. Now also then the ducting system is engineered in radiuses. It's just not those boxes put together in square corners, because the air gets tied up in there and makes noise. With it nice and radius, the air flows better, you get more volume, you get more air flow, you get a better, more efficient system, plus it's quieter. So that is a bonus to our installation on Liberty Coach. Those units are also heat pumps, so they'll heat as well. Those only work to a certain temperature outside, and of course now we're into the winter season, right? So we have the heated floors. 100% of our floor is heated. There are 4 different zones, and there's 5 on a quad. So we have the heated system, but that can only take you so far as well. We also have toast space electric heaters in the coach. Every coach we build has those also, as well as the heated 110 volt units that are in the water bay. Now we have another backup to that, which is our primary heat source, which is going to be the SPAR system. That's 83,000 BTU. That's a diesel fired unit that's heating the antifreeze from the main engine, and we circulate that through the main engine, through the radiator, all the way through the coach. And then there are 7 blowers that are tied to that are thermostatically controlled. Our coach, and I've said it before, I've had the coaches in extreme temperatures, been 61, 65 below zero outside, okay, and I would take this coach there without a doubt, because we keep the main engine heated all the time. The main engine's sitting at 168 degrees, the transmission's at the same temperature, the engine oil is at the same temperature. The only thing that is not is the differential. So those are the areas. I mean, I mentioned that before. We used to snowmobile out in West Yellowstone, and it got that cold there. And we used to go in with a aluminum pan with charcoal in it and heat the rear axle before we went to leave. But other than that, you know, we could roll. So, you know, we build the coach for those extremes, without a doubt. So it can happen.
Yeah, no substitute for experience, and your
Over
family's
50 years.
Yes, sir, been doing it for a long time. Yeah. Another thing I'm seeing in the comments is people are asking about, you know, if they want to have like a crazy floor plan and do something totally different than what you normally do, how custom are you able to go, and what all can you guys do?
We can do custom. You know, you look at the coach that we built for Kyle Busch that was 4 years ago now. That was a massive challenge because they wanted a Murphy bed in the coach. And the only Murphy bed that had ever been done was done in a newel. And so what Kurt did was engineered a Murphy bed system that was actually in a quad slide with the bed over on the passenger side slide room, which ended up being more applicable to that. It was still a big challenge to do. That was done in that coach. Plus that coach also had 1 bunk in it, which then of course this past season we added another bunk to it. So, you know, these are things that we can do. And people ask about coaches with bunks. You know, bunks can be done in a coach. They really eat up a lot of space. So you're going to have the bunks or you're going to have closet. Can you convert it? Sure you can. But, you know, it depends on how your usability of the coach is going to go. You know, to do a triple slide with bunks, that's like almost impossible. Where are you going to put them? We really don't have the ability to move the slide rooms at all to make some changes on that part of it. So it's a big challenge there, or quad. It's like almost impossible to do that. So you're looking at a double slide coach more than likely to do that, which we can. We're building 2 double slide coaches, as a matter of fact, now. The next coach after 905, which this is 904, 905, 906, and 7, are both doubles. Yeah. So some of the floor plans are limited by what we can do because of how the shell is designed. So the shell is a solid platform, and we do not want to upset that platform. I mean, you can see there's a video that's going to be coming out here in the not too distant future of a Prevost that was in a head-on with a gravel truck. Okay?
I saw it.
Head-on, okay? They walked away. The coach is actually getting repaired because it could be repaired. So I mean, they walked away from a head-on. When people ask about the safety concerns or the safety capabilities of a Prevost chassis, I'm telling you, and I've made the comment many times, you go to the factory and you see that cage that's built underneath that driver's seat, there's nothing you can imagine that could collapse that, okay? It's amazing what the coach can withstand. And it's just like we look at, okay, fine, let's do a different booth here. Let's do a face-to-face booth or an L booth. One might think that's fairly easy to do, right? It sounds in concept that it is, but by the time you get done with it, the window arches have to change because they're not going to be the same size now because you're going to have a different booth system here. The floor here has to be changed because this floor, we build a cage that gets added on to the face of the Prevost floor, and it has to be done for this system. Now, if it's a face-to-face booth, that cage that's get welded on here is totally different. If it's an L booth, it has to be totally different. There's structure that has to be put in for the booth, the table, to be able to move. If it's a face-to-face, there's structure that has to go into the wall here to be able to hang that table. So there's a lot of things here that happen. At the end of the day, it looks like, oh yeah, you just swapped one out for the other. Well, swapping one out for the other is the better part of 50 grand. Building it from new, okay, it's one thing. But if you're going to come in here and change it, it's complex.
Yeah, I definitely respect that. And you're the only person in the industry that says that they can warranty squeaks and rattles. So I was really surprised when you said you'd build a Murphy bed for Kyle Busch, because if there's a Murphy bed now, do you still warranty squeaks and rattles on that Murphy bed?
Absolutely.
So you've got to engineer something that's going to not squeak or rattle for the lifetime of the coach.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't want to deviate from the process if I were you, but I got to tip my hat to you for doing that.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so what else is going on in this coach?
You know, mirror treatment here, we've seen a lot of different stuff, from the onyx backlit to the agate backlit, you know, tile features that are back here. This wanted to be more of an antique looking on the mirrored panels here. It's different. It's really kind of cool. You know, we're different here a little bit on this door. We've seen the doors that are more chevron with the actual wood panels there. This is different on the veneer. Bathroom area in here looks really sharp. The different materials that are in here from the upholstered wall and the tile features in here, really, really nice looking. Yeah. The hardware, you know, you talked about that. It's cool to see the gold hardware come back in a certain fashion, you know, as opposed to being all the chrome or the nickels and what have you. And this type of hardware is really nice. So we come into the bedroom here. Again, this is the super slide, or the super suite. So we have an enormous amount of storage back here in this coach with the closets on either side of the bed. You've got a lot of space here, and then massive deep drawers here. And then on either side of the passenger side slide room, you've got really great storage closet area with drawers, the hamper. So we build in a lot of storage in the coach, and everything's on a nice positive latch, so it's not opening up going down the road. That also keeps, you know, the squeaks and rattles to zero. So, you know, that helps in that aspect too. You know, there's a lot that we engineer into the coach to be able to do that. One of the things that you point out, Andrew, all the time is this feature we do on the doors. That is something that we manufacture in-house, and then we paint to match. And that purpose in life is to be able to keep that door straight for the life of the door. Because you see some of these doors with mirrors and what have you, and they'll start to creep because of the glues and what have you, so that eliminates that issue. Being a Ravello unit, we don't have the aft toilet, if you will, so now we've got the vanity, a rather large vanity here, and then we have all kinds of storage back here in the closets, access to the electronics back here. Big drawers here. When we use a coach, my wife and I, Denise, will use this for linens. A lot of times back in here, have a vanity that actually has drawers. I mean, how many coaches you go into that have a vanity with drawers, right? So you got 6 drawers in here. Nice storage underneath as well. All lighted, everything underneath. We point that all the time. Every cabinet you're going to open up in a Liberty coach is going to have a light in it. Yeah, we've done that since almost inception.
Extremely bright, yes. Yeah. Or even we just popped on these lights here, and we had to adjust the camera because there's so much light.
Our shower, big shower, probably one of the largest in the industry. I'm tall. Andrew, you're tall as well. I got room in here. I got room to move. I got room to grow. All of our showers are done with a full stainless steel welded pan and then rock board. And we point this out when people come up and do tours of the factory. That's a very big feature in our coaches and has been for many, many, many years. This is all rock board here, so the tile goes and adheres right to that. So there's no way for the water to get out of the shower. So you go into coaches that are 15, 20, 25, 30 years old, you're not going to smell a mold because of that. It's not going to happen because that does not leak, and that's warranted, period. So here we have the Bosch washer dryer unit in here. Been a real good bulletproof system for us for a number of years. It works very, very well. So,
well, Frank, I really appreciate the opportunity to see the latest and greatest here at Liberty Coach. Now, what is your current pre-owned inventory? And if someone wanted to order a new coach, what's the current lead time?
I think we have right now 6 units that we own that are in stock, and I think we've got 5 or 6 units that are on consignment. Our new production right now, we're looking at filling the last slot for 2024, which is December. I believe we're already into 25 on 1 unit right now. So the new production is moving along really well. We're at a good pace again. We've got everything ramped up to where we were previously before COVID and before we got into the dash and changes for the 9660. So we're in good shape there. So if anybody's looking for a coach, they go to the website, libertycoach.com. They can email in coachsales@libertycoach.com. Call in 800-554-9877. We also have our other company, the Motorhome Exchange. So that is the motorhomeexchange.com. Look at that inventory. That's going to be equipment that's going to be pre-2014, including 14 here now, because we take coaches that are outside of the 10-year production line and put them in there, plus the other units that we take in on trade that are non-Liberty and Prevost. So there's a lot of options in our company. It's very deep on that part of it.
So if someone's a serious and qualified buyer, who should they get a hold of?
Well, the best thing to do is to go, like I say, onto the website or onto the email, coachsales@libertycoach.com, because I get those, and then I'll forward them on. Of course, they can always reach out to me too.
Awesome, Frank. Well, I greatly appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, always a pleasure. Also appreciate all of you subscribing to the channel. We hope you're all having a great day. Thanks again.
Thank you very much for watching, and keep the comments coming. Once you drive a Prevost, you'll never go back.